Spicy Mummy. That sounds like an OnlyFans model. Does he use the word love?
No.
Why is it called love bombing then?
I don't know, but it's just, when someone's overly nice.
That's not love bombing. Love bombing is in the name.
I can't deal with men that are really like simps.
A lot of guys look at Bonnie Blue the way girls look at like their really attractive gay guy who's like really emotionally intelligent. You're like, it's just a waste.
If the girl is a lot more attractive than the guy, she feels embarrassed to post him.
Yo guys, welcome back to another episode on my channel. I'm sitting in this spot, which means I've got a great conversation lined up for you today. On this channel, we love to talk about all things dating, relationships, and see what we can do to attract the kind of person we want. So without further ado, please welcome Paula to the show. Welcome, Paula.
Hi, everyone. Hi, my name is Paula, and I am currently a model, and I work in marketing, and I'm going to tell you all about my fun love life stories.
Oh, 100%. We're going to get, some experiences, your take on dating, see what we can do to start, making the strides that we actually want. So, Paula, I always love to jump straight in. So first, tell us your age or your age range. And one thing a guy should know about you if he's going to take you on a date.
Right, so I'm 26, and one thing that he should know about me, I can speak fluent Polish.
Oh, okay. Like, are you from Poland?
I'm actually from Poland. Yeah, I came here when I was 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there a bit of a culture shock there, or did it feel?
Poland? Yeah, definitely. I mean, Poland wasn't very diverse when I was leaving, so it was a bit of a culture shock. But I was 9, so I was only a kid, so not so that much. But I did speak the language.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Have you found yourself being more drawn to like Polish guys or just variety since you've been here?
No variety, to be honest. I'm not really fussed about where someone's from. I'm kind of open to all kind of ethnicities.
Yeah. What do you think is a major struggle that a lot of, especially women today, like more, kind of young women today, what do you think is a struggle that they're having with dating nowadays?
You know what I think? I really do believe that as a society, we've grown to kind of hate men.
Say more. I'm not going to agree or disagree, but say more.
But I think we kind of grown this like, oh, I hate men, men are trash kind of thing over time. And I think that's been very recently, that's even more than like before. Everyone kind of hates men. And it's weird because it's like, I love men, like, even though I had so many traumatic experiences, I still love men.
Yeah.
But I know like people have just so much trauma. And you know what? We've become the society. We hate men hate women. And it's just crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think about that.
Why do you think, and I'll ask for guys, why do you think on the women's side, why do you think there's such a disdain for men at the moment, especially when it comes to dating and relationships?
I don't know. I mean, the last date I went on was 4 years ago. So
The last date you went on was 4 years ago.
yeah.
What?
Yeah, 4 years ago.
What?
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm the right person to kind of answer that, but it's just because I really like to meet people organically.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people go for that whole dating app thing. Well, I mean, a lot of the men that are on these dating apps are not looking for love. They're looking for someone to sleep with most of the time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I've got friends that are serial daters, like, and I'm saying here like 4 dates a week, right?
Right.
And they just get traumatized every single time. But I think it's because their expectation is to have a relationship. And for these men, they're just, they want a pretty girl.
Yeah. I definitely say that a lot of what determines whether they'll go serious or not, I say it's 2 things. I'd say it's one, just being honest, kind of how attractive and desirable the guy is. Because if he's really attractive and desirable and he gets a lot of attention, unless he's ready to kind of settle down, he's probably not going to look for anything serious. Because he can still be, sleeping with different women, right? So he can still have his sexual needs met, but he doesn't need to commit to any one woman. Or the other major thing, which is actually for most women, is how they date them. Because the thing is, dating apps is just a way to meet people, right? So you can meet trash guys at the bar or at work or whatever, right? It's just a way to meet people. And I think I'm pretty sure it was as of definitely since COVID, 50% of couples meet online now, right? So it's pretty normal to be meeting people online, but then how you date them really kind of determines, especially as a woman, whether it's going to go seriously or not, whether he's going to take her seriously or not. There's some things that are, of course, out of her control.
Yeah.
But for most women, for what I've seen, it's not necessarily because the guy can't be in a serious relationship, because most people have had serious relationships, right? If they're an adult, most of the time. So it means they know what it means to commit and be intentional. but then it's just about, okay, how do we make sure it happens with this person?
Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you know what it is as well. Like going back to that whole men are trash thing.
Yes.
I hate it in a way because there's good men out there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here to say like, oh my god, all of them are trash. They're not. They're literally not. But
Yeah.
I think a lot of men, they don't want to settle, and I really do find that, like, not even just my own like personal experience.
Yeah.
It's kind of just seeing my friends and how many relationships they go through, and when it gets to like the serious part, they do kind of then like get scared and move away from that. But I think that's why then women are like, oh my god, men are trash, because they like the man will give you kind of the relationship basically, even if you're not exclusive yet or actually in a full committed relationship, but they will then all of a sudden freak out and leave you, and then that's why these women are going, oh my god, men are actually trash,
Right.
because they'll make you fall in love with them, they'll do everything right, and then they get scared and get really like distant.
Yeah, I hear you. So, okay, it's interesting because I was going to say that I think a lot of men feel that women don't want to settle, but I think we're using it in two different ways. So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying, when you're saying men don't want to settle, you're saying they don't want to settle down with one woman.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Right. So it's interesting because I think we do hear this a lot in the sense of a girl will be dating a guy, things seem to be going well. And a lot of the time a woman will go, we're basically in a relationship. And out of nowhere, like when they're just making it official, he just kind of dipped, right? Now, what makes a woman think, until you've had that exclusive talk and you've actually established it, what makes her think that they're in a relationship? Because the guy doesn't think that until that conversation's been had.
Yeah.
So what makes a girl think that, oh, we're basically in a relationship, we just haven't made it official yet?
I think a lot of us are just delusional. We kind of want that.
You said it on me.
Just being honest, I'm a girl, I can say almost, we just make up scenarios in our head to do
Right.
like a perfect relationship.
Yeah.
And I think when we see a man that's starting to do the right thing for us and we think this could be going somewhere, we're already a step ahead of like them. We already think that, oh my god, we're basically in a relationship.
Right.
I think it's just the girls thinking. I think we commit quite quick.
Mm-hmm.
I think
generally,
like if a girl is seeing a guy, she will go quicker into wanting to be exclusive with him than he wants to go with her, if that makes sense.
For sure.
So I think we just kind of go based on that. We're like, oh my god, this is so exciting, it's new. And then the guy is really nice to us, and we kind of go, oh my god, you know what? I think we're exclusive now in our heads. We're delusional. We're not even had the we even had the conversation with the man yet, but we're like, oh my god, yes, we're in a relationship, basically.
Yeah.
And I think what I was just about to go on to is that we do lack communication. I think a lot of the time we're not on the same page as the guy.
Yeah.
And then I think the guy just doesn't want to upset us, so he's not really like saying it outright a lot of the time.
So I would say that I get that. So I would say if they've been dating and she gets to a point where she feels they're in a relationship, so something has shifted for her, then it's kind of on her to communicate that to him.
No,
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I also think I completely get when, if you're dating a guy, he's like really showing up for you, he's being a good guy, he's considerate of you, all that stuff. I think it's really important to differentiate between him doing that because he's taking you seriously and him doing that because he's just a good guy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think the example I give is like a one-night stand, right? Sometimes girls have been like, oh, well, I had a really nice time with this guy, we had a great night together, he didn't like try and rush me out in the morning, he like cooked us breakfast, we actually sat and had a chat, he took my number and I've just not heard from him. And it's like, but everything was showing that, it seemed that he was really into me and that he wanted to take things further. And it's like, that could have been the case, but also just could have been the case that, just because maybe he wants something casual, that doesn't mean he can't treat you with consideration. That doesn't mean he can't treat you with respect. That doesn't even mean he doesn't even like who you are as a person, but he just may not be looking for anything serious. So I think this is why the conversation is really important, because a guy can be showing up in a way because he's just a good guy and that's how he shows up. Do you know what I mean? But that doesn't technically mean that it's a relationship yet. So do you think that's a lot of where, when we say the trauma, a lot of for girls come in where they do fall for a guy because he has been showing up, the conversation's never had, and then when the conversation is had, he's like, I'm actually not looking for that.
Yeah, 100%. I think you're literally right. It's really hard because I think when you're a girl, you kind of want that love from a guy. I think especially if you're a girl that has gone through a lot of experiences with guys, like, and they have been quite bad, then you meet the guy and he starts kind of like love bombing you and saying all
Does he
stuff.
say I love you though? Does he use the word love?
No, no,
Why is it called love bombing then?
I don't know, but it's just, when someone's overly nice and says all the right things and then
Do you know what's sorry, sorry to cut off. The reason I ask this is because I've heard this a lot about, oh, he love bombed me, he love bombed me. So I'm like, he said he loved you after like week 3. And they're like, no, he didn't say he loved me, but he was saying these really nice things. I'm like, that's not love bombing though.
I don't know. I mean, that's kind of the definition though, isn't it, of love bombing?
Isn't love bombing when you say I love you?
No, I swear it's not. I swear it can also be when someone's just saying things like, "Oh, I want you to meet my parents," just to keep you keen and stuff like that.
No.
Yeah, surely.
That's not love bombing. Love bombing is in the name. They dropped the love word.
I don't know, but something similar to that. When a guy wants to keep you keen, he will say all the right things and then blank you afterwards. I think that one is just a little bit too much.
I agree. That's wrong. That's wrong. What would I call that? I'd say that's definitely misleading for sure. If he wasn't, telling the truth, if he had no intention.
Yeah.
But yeah, because we say, oh, she dropped the love bomb, as in guys will say that, if they've been dating a girl, it's going serious, they're about to get into a relationship, maybe they are. And, he'll be like, oh yeah, she dropped the love bomb, as if she said the word love.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like where I'm from, like, we're all using love bombing as in when the guy is being overly nice and it's like saying the right things and actually not like overly nice, but I mean, actually saying things without the intention of taking it further. But maybe you're right. Like, yeah, it probably makes sense for it to actually be called love bombing if you're going to say their word.
Yeah, I think that's in the name, because what if he says I love you? Is that not love bombing?
No, but no, because I think like, love bombing is quite like a negative term, isn't it?
That's my point though.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I don't know.
If you're overly nice, that's same as saying I love you, apparently.
I'm confused now, to be fair. I've confused myself here.
Yeah, I think we've gotten so used to just quickly labeling so many things.
No, that's true.
Especially also as well, I think we have to be honest, because I get, as a girl, and correct me if I'm wrong, but as a woman, I get you can see very early whether you'd be in a relationship with a guy, right? Completely get that. As you see these qualities, you see how it shows up, you're like, oh, within the first few weeks, like I've talked to girls where they've been like, within the first date, they're like, I knew I could be in a relationship with this guy, right? But guys just don't work that way.
Yeah.
Like, guys only really know whether they'd be in a relationship with a girl once he's gotten to know her, right? Over a month, 2, 3 months. And sometimes he can be intentional, but maybe it gets to a point, maybe he's been seeing her for a couple of months and he's like, she's a really great girl, but she's actually not a great match for me. And so maybe it can be like, from there, that's when he's not taking it any serious, or he's like, okay, I already know that maybe this isn't a good match for me. And then when she finds that out, she feels like she's been played.
Rejected.
Right. Sure. I guess rejected. Sure. I mean, rejection is part of life.
Yeah, it is. I think, I don't know, it's different for us girls, I think we've got a different thinking when it comes to relationships. And I think we really hype ourselves up to kind of have that, perfect relationship with a guy. And I think when a guy is being nice to us and he treats us well, and all of a sudden he turns around and says, this isn't not right for me. I'm not looking for a relationship at the moment. I think it then turns into girls just being absolutely like heartbroken.
Yeah.
I'm not a serial dater, so I haven't felt that way in a long time. But just from seeing from my friends, they really hype themselves up and go, oh my God, this is it. This is like my dream guy and we're going to get together. And 2 weeks later, she's like, oh, he wasn't ready for a relationship.
Yeah.
I think we kind of have this thing where, because there is a lack of communication, I do believe a lot of the time in the beginning, where girls go on dates with guys and they don't say straight away that, I just want something casual. Because they want to string them along for a bit to then maybe, I don't know, have sex with them or whatever. They will say whatever they want to hear. And I think that's when it's not right. And this happens a lot of the time, unfortunately. It's really sad.
I get that. And that does happen. You're absolutely right. I think 2 things though. I think one, how you said about girls hype themselves up and then they get heartbroken? That sounds like the reason they get heartbroken is because they project these expectations, and when those expectations aren't met, unbeknownst to the guy, he has no idea that she has these expectations, she then gets heartbroken.
Yeah.
So then I would say that's actually more, she needs to manage her expectations based on where it is right now, not on the fancy of where she wants it to go.
Yeah.
Right? Of course, you can be intentional, but until you've had that conversation, I don't think it wouldn't be right if I have expectations of you, you don't even know, and then when you don't measure up, I'm heartbroken. But that's not your fault.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. No.
Now, you're 100% right. I think there are guys who will intentionally mislead women in the beginning in terms of they know they're only looking for something casual. They're just like, yeah, I'm open to a relationship and marriage and all this stuff. And then it doesn't go that way. That does happen.
Yeah.
I think sometimes what happens more often than we like to admit is that the truth is a guy doesn't know. Let's say a guy's open to a relationship. A guy can be open to a relationship, but still date women casually. Right? Because let's be honest, a lot of people, they date multiple people now, right? So he may be dating one or two girls casually, but then dating another girl very seriously. And then when that becomes exclusive, he kind of stops seeing the girl casually and now he's invested in this relationship, right? A lot of the time that happens. But if a guy's open to a relationship, he can go on a date with a girl, meet a girl, and he may not know whether he wants to pursue serious with her or casually with her. And then it might be from the first date. It might be from a month down the line where, let's say, for example, he's like, okay, after a few dates, she's great, but actually this is just going to be a casual thing for me. I'm not really looking for anything serious. And I think sometimes that can happen, but that then gets thrown in with, oh, he knew he only wanted something casual. And the truth is, guys don't always know straight away, right? Because the thing is, especially when it comes to committing, you know, women are the gatekeepers for physical intimacy, men are the gatekeepers for commitment, right? So you're very selective about who you're going to be physical with. Just because you go on a date with a guy, that doesn't mean you'd have sex with him, right? 100%. So just because a guy goes on a date with a girl doesn't mean he's open to committing to her.
Yeah, but I think it's the same for women as well. I think if you're not kind of in desperation mode to be in a relationship, if you're sat with a guy on a date, or even if you just meet him, let's say in the bar or something, you just have a drink together or whatever, and you kind of know pretty much from the first time you see them whether you would like to actually pursue just a casual relationship with them or whether you'd actually want to
As a girl,
yeah.
Yeah. What makes a girl just look at a guy? Are you just talking from when you've just gone on the first date?
Yeah.
So what makes a girl go, okay, I want to pursue something serious, I want to pursue just casual with him?
Just the chemistry, I think, whether you have things in common as well. I mean, if you're sat with a guy who's literally, maybe good looking and you're like, oh my God, he's so fit, but you're chatting to him and the personality ain't there, or, you just don't get along as much as you thought you would, or sometimes over text people are a bit more funny, a bit more like, and then you meet them in person and it's like, oh my God, actually, like, I'm so bored right now.
It's a different frequency.
It's a different frequency, and you kind of know that it's like, I'm not seeing myself married to that person. Sometimes you just think like, you meet someone and you think, wow, okay, I could be dating this person.
Yeah.
And then you then think, okay, but he is pretty, good looking and stuff. So I think a lot of women are like, well, we'll just have a casual relationship. Yeah. Obviously, what we just spoke about men doing that to women where they go on dates and then they're like, oh my God, we're going to be in a relationship from the first day and the guy doesn't know that yet. I think this happens for the other way around as well.
Where guys like, I want to be in a relationship.
Yeah, but the guy's really like keen and isn't.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, tell me what you think. I think the times and when that happens is when, if we're just going to speak very plainly, is when she is kind of above his league.
Yeah, you are right.
Do you know what I mean? So he goes to the date, he's like, oh my gosh, she's absolutely drop dead gorgeous. And he's like, I don't even know her, but I want to make this work just because. And I actually think that can be a red flag.
Yeah, it's a red flag.
And the reason I say it is because I think if a guy really wants you because of your looks, that means he's easily manipulated by other women who also look very good. Where a guy should be like, oh, she's gorgeous, like I'm attracted to her, but I only want to get to know her character, and that's actually why I'm going to commit, right? The physicality is what makes me take romantic interest, but it's who she is as a who she is as a person is what gets my intentional interest, right? So, but yeah, I think that happen, and I think that happens less often, and generally because I don't think women will go on a date with a guy that they wouldn't find attractive. You can tell me.
That's true. That is true. I think personally I wouldn't, but I've met guys before where they've been like kind of obsessed with me not in a weird way, but kind of in a weird way, you know.
All right, maybe you got that addictive energy, girl. Maybe you have it, boy. No, you don't. Yeah, maybe you got it.
But it does kind of give me the ick, and straight away I'm like, they're so nice to me, and I wouldn't date them because I'm like, I don't find you attractive, like not as in like looks, but just in terms of the personality. I cannot deal with having a man. I want him to be obsessed with me, but not too cringy, if that makes sense.
Did he pedestalize you too quickly?
Yeah, I think you want a man that obviously thinks you're good looking and whatever.
Yeah.
But it's so much deeper than that. I can't deal with men that are really like simps.
Big facts.
Yes, upgrade. So I think having a man that's so obsessed with you is not normal. But
it's so fun because girls will see this online. They're like, if he's not obsessed with you, that's like the bare minimum.
That's not me. That's not for me. Honestly, I think I want a man that's obsessed with me in a normal way. Like, he thinks I'm really good looking and he wants to do stuff with me. And yeah, he looks at me, with love. But I don't want him to kind of straight away from the first time I meet him to go, yeah, so where you up tonight? Like, what you doing? Oh, like crazy. I've had these experiences before.
Wow.
Where I would chat to a guy for about 5 minutes and he would genuinely say to me, oh, I bet you got loads of attention tonight. As in, like, I just find that a bit weird.
Is that not a compliment though?
No, but I think it's a bit. I don't think it is, because when you just start speaking to someone, let's say I've literally met that person that day. This is a real story, right?
Yeah. Go.
From my past experience. I met a guy on the same night that I was going out basically with my friends, and he came to the bar that we were sitting in afterwards because he was working before that, and then he came over and just sat on that table and we just had a chat. We went outside, had a chat. It was lovely. Like, he was a very sweet guy, and I'm sure he's going to find a girl that's going to love that. But then he started messaging me like, hey, like all the time. And then I've messaged back because I was out with my friends. So it's like, I'm not going to sit there and, I don't know, sit on my phone and just text the whole night, right?
Yeah, of course.
And then literally the next day he would just go to me, oh, I bet you got loads of attention at the club, but not in like a nice way. It's more of like a...
Oh, this was over text.
Over text, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's not like in a nice way, it's a compliment. It's more of like...
He's being insecure because you weren't messaging him.
And I can't deal with men that are insecure.
Yeah, that makes sense.
For me, like, especially because obviously the content that I post, I'm in my bikinis, I do modeling. Do you know what I mean? I can't sit with a man that's constantly thinking and worried about me doing things, because when I am in a relationship with someone and I'm actually exclusively dating someone, I'm so loyal. Like, I don't care. I don't know, Drake could come in, anyone, and I would be like, oh, cool. Like, cool, nice to meet you, and that's it. I'm really like a loyal person, and I cannot deal with a man that's constantly kind of saying stuff like that to me. I just think it's too much, especially when you've just met them.
Yeah, I get you. And it's almost like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not that you don't want your guy to be obsessed with you, but it needs to be, if you've been in a relationship and you've gone through the honeymoon phase, he's like, I'm just obsessed with Paula. She's my girl. I love her, adore her. That's fine, right? But it's in the beginning, I guess, is it almost because you feel like the relationship that you have with him that's so brief, it hasn't earned the obsession yet?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Someone doesn't actually know you.
Exactly.
I could be an absolute horrific person.
Very true.
Why are you you're only obsessed with me because you like what you see.
Yeah.
And I
He's
think
projecting.
He's projecting, yeah. And I don't like that. I think get to know me because I'm more than my look.
100%. So, everything you just said, that's exactly how guys feel on the first date when she's like, you're going to be my boyfriend.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Where obviously most girls don't say that, right? But because I've had that before. I went on a second date with a girl. She's like, so when are we making this official? I was like, oh, like, I was like, I just met you. Do you know what I mean? And it's definitely, it's on both sides. I think if if they project that fantasy onto the other person and the other person feels that, immediately it's going to turn them off, even if they were open to something with you. What do you think makes a woman obsessed with a man?
You know what?
Say it how it is.
I actually think when a man is like, for me, this is like my personal thing. I don't know about other women.
Yeah,
I can't really tell, but for me, it's like when a man is a bit mysterious,
Yeah.
like he's not giving his all on the first date, and like there's more to find out, and he's kind of like laid back, I'll see you when I see you type of thing. Like he's not too keen.
Okay.
And I think that is a big thing that makes me obsessed with a man. That when someone's too much straight away, for me, that is a massive red flag for me.
Yeah.
So when a man is more laid back and I can actually kind of work for it as well myself, like I feel like it should work both ways. You kind of want a guy to know that you're also keen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think like it's a nice balance there.
Yeah.
And I think when a guy's just funny and, you just sit there and you look at him and you think, oh my God, you know what? You actually are a great person. And I think that then when you see them again, it's like, oh my God, they're still that same person. It's like, okay, I'm kind of obsessed with you.
Yeah.
But I don't even think it's looks. You then start to look more like beyond the looks. And I think their personality, the way they are,
Yes.
is what actually makes you obsessed.
Yeah, 100%. Does it ever happen? Because we know guys become obsessed with girls because of their looks. So we know guys are very visual. Does it ever happen the other way at all?
100%.
Does it?
100%.
So like a girl can become obsessed with a guy because he looks really good.
Oh, 100%. It's like when someone's really good looking, sometimes even if they're a little bit, dead personality or like their banter's just non-existent.
Yeah.
I think girls still want to see them because they are good looking, and it's like that whole idea of walking with a guy. I'll tell you this in a bit, but when you got a good looking guy with you, everyone's looking all the girls are looking at you, being jealous and thinking, oh my God, you're walking around with a guy that's fit. Like, yeah, I think it works like that. It works both ways.
Yeah, of course.
We always think about this whole idea of having like a trophy wife.
Yeah.
I feel like women kind of want like a trophy husband sometimes as well.
Yeah, I definitely think especially nowadays, the standards for men in looks has kind of gone up in women, very much so. So what do you think is So I agree, like, in terms of women walking around with a great guy, like a really good looking guy, it kind of gives her status amongst other women in the room, right? So what do you think gives a woman like more status? A guy being very, very attractive or a guy being very, very successful?
I think a guy being very successful probably is a lot more like if
Potent.
yeah, definitely. I think when a guy is kind of rich, the girls are more likely to kind of like, oh my God, my boyfriend has taken me to Dubai and like carry the LV bags with them and all this stuff that is kind
It's
of
a
like,
flex.
yeah, it's a flex. They sit in a Uber, not an Uber. What am I saying? In Uber, they sit in a taxi on the way to like some fancy event.
Yeah.
They like pose themselves, never the boyfriend.
Yeah, why though?
Right. I always think it's really strange that girls do that. They have these successful rich guys
Yeah.
they go out with and they don't pose them on their socials.
I have a theory
Go on.
why. I have potentially two theories why. Why do you think?
I think because I think the first thing, obviously, a lot of girls are funny about tagging their boyfriends on socials because they're scared that other woman will obviously try to go for it.
Very good point.
That's the first thing.
Yeah.
But I also think if the girl is a lot more attractive than the guy, she feels embarrassed to post him.
Even what? Wow.
Yeah.
Even if he's like super successful, like she's like really into it.
And she, because the thing is though, she might actually not really find him physically attractive. She's attracted to his money and his success.
But can she? So I would say if she's attracted to his money, I say that's very gold digger territory. But you know how you said about, oh, you can meet a guy and he might not be crazy attractive, but if he has these other qualities, then attraction can grow.
Yeah.
Does that not make her see him as being attractive if she falls in love with certain qualities that he has? Or will she always kind of objectively be like, I'm really drawn to this person, but I can objectively see he's not that good looking, so I don't want to post with him?
I think it just really depends on the woman. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. Like, I'm very open on my socials. If I had a boyfriend,
Yeah.
like, looks, who cares about the looks sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, if they're an amazing person, like, why would you be embarrassed to post just your guy. Like, I don't understand. It really confuses me because I'm like, how can you not post your partner?
Can I be honest? And this is what a lot of guys think. I think that it often happens where the reason she doesn't post him is because there's an element of her that believes she can do better. So she wants to maintain looking available in case a better option comes along.
That's actually so true. No, that is true.
Because I think if a girl I think if she's with the kind of guy that he's just that guy, she wants to show him to everyone. Yeah, that's my man. No one come for him because that's my guy. But if she's with a guy like, oh, he's really great, I like him and stuff, but I kind of feel I may be able to, maybe get an option from a higher caliber guy or whatever, right? Especially if if she's really particular about who she settles down with. I think that's a really big reason.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys think that.
I think, especially in this industry of like influencers and models and stuff, that is 100% a thing where you see girls post their partners, but they'll literally just be their hand or whatever. It actually won't be the person because they're just trying to keep it as low key as they can, or they'll put it on the close friends stories.
Yeah.
So no people from like the actual public will see their boyfriends.
Yeah.
Because they actually do think that, you know what, if an opportunity arises, I could be getting out of this relationship to have someone better.
You know what? I appreciate you being honest because I've had this conversation with quite a few guys before and they always deny that it's a thing. And I think guys always think this. And I think subconsciously, I feel like we all kind of know this. So I guess if a guy gets to a relationship with a girl and let's say she does post her friends and stuff, so she has no qualms posting kind of personal relationships, but she doesn't post him. Would you say that's a red flag?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, you heard it here first, boys. You heard it here first. Wow. I mean, yeah, it makes complete
It
sense.
is a red flag.
So how do girls feel if a guy didn't post her?
Girls-
Does she think the same thing?
Yeah, girls would think it's a red flag because they would think if my boyfriend's not posting me on his socials and it's because he's leaving himself open to have a woman.
Mm.
But I think it works both ways.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if you're not posting your man and you're basically looking single on your socials,
Yeah.
then I feel like you kind of need to be single.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
No, I hear that. I would say maybe the difference though is I think that if a guy's trying to hide his relationship, neither is okay, right? But I think it's mainly for casual relationships. Like, oh, if a girl one night or whatever comes across and he's like, oh yeah, I indulged there sexually. I don't, they call it monkey branching where like, you have one relationship, but you've got another person lined up, right? To jump to another relationship. I think that's something women tend to do more so than guys, but guys, it tends to be so they can indulge casually. Neither is okay. But yeah, I think that's why. That's why. Interesting. So with your friends, I know you said they're kind of like serial daters, right?
Yeah.
What do you think that maybe they're doing or not seeing that maybe isn't helping them progress things the way that they wanted to?
It's because they just get too emotionally involved with these guys. Like,
Okay.
they will start off as a casual relationship sometimes, and then they will keep seeing them. And then the guy still hasn't made it exclusive with them.
Yeah.
But in their heads, like what we spoke about earlier,
Okay.
they're already there.
Do they know it's a casual relationship in the beginning, the
Yeah.
guys? Oh.
Yeah, so it starts off as a casual.
So it's like, okay, we're casual, that's fine.
Yeah.
And she get, oh.
And they just, feelings get involved and someone gets hurt type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it goes wrong for them. Or I've got a friend and literally every single relationship she's been cheated on.
Ah.
But you know what? This is not even like, I really think it's a thing where it's so normal for us women to be labeled as psychos now, right?
Sure.
That's a massive thing.
Yeah.
Or girls are psychos. Right?
Yeah, she's crazy. Yeah.
She's crazy type of thing. Yeah. And I think it's actually true a lot.
She's like, this is a stereotype and it's true.
And it's true. I mean, every single gal, including me, has gone to some crazy, like, mental point before where you've either checked their following or kind of I don't know, stalk the exes or like whatever it is.
Yeah.
We've all done it before.
What is the craziest thing you've done?
What's the craziest thing I've done? So I was dating a guy and I don't know, this is crazy.
A few edges this.
It's actually not that interesting, to be fair.
Okay, go for it.
But basically, so him and his mate went out clubbing together.
Yeah.
And his friend was like quite famous at the time, right? And I knew his girlfriend. So both me and her at like 1 a.m. in the morning, well, messaging each other saying like, we've not seen any stories from the night out, nothing.
Yeah.
So it wasn't actually me, but she ran the club.
She ran the club.
And she said, could you check what my boyfriend is doing?
Damn. What? Does she not trust him?
She didn't trust him, no. So
Right.
both me and her, because the guys we were dating weren't very, like, I don't know,
Okay.
serious, right?
Okay.
So we were both really insecure at the time when we were with them. So we were constantly on that psychopath. Like,
Is that exhausting?
I used to stay up until 3 a.m. in the morning checking his following because he didn't follow a lot of people. So let's say he followed like 75 people.
Yep.
So I would check and like I would stay up all night and check if he's followed anyone.
My gosh, Paula, that's exhausting. That's so draining.
Memorize the people that he followed and I would see who the new people are. And you know, a few years ago, this was 8 years ago, by the way, I've changed a lot since.
God.
But at that time, you could see the most recent person they followed if you went on Safari and typed in their username, right? You went to following list, you'd be able to see the most recent person they followed.
You know what? Yeah. Do you know what's funny? Like, us guys, we really underestimate how, like, you become detectives.
Yeah.
Like, we
To anything.
we really underestimate it. And so, because you know when girls would do this, right? And they'll like find something, whatever. And here's the thing, if you look for something, you will find it. And what I mean by that is sometimes you generally find, oh, he's been cheating on me, right? Or he's been messing this girl.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the case. But also other times you can be looking for things that he is doing it, but you will interpret something that maybe it's innocent, but you interpret it that he is. So, oh, he followed this new girl and she's got 3 photos out of 500 that's half naked. He's clearly fucking her. Do you know what I mean? So like when girls go, oh, it's my intuition. And there is female intuition for sure. But is it sometimes it's just that element of that detective craziness that's...
It is.
Is
It
it?
is.
Okay.
It is. And I think...
Appreciate you being honest.
No, it is. And do you know what it is as well? So my friend that's been cheated on so many times, yeah, she found out, right? This is crazy. She would go through the guy's following list, message some girls that he would follow, or find his exes and be like, do you still talk to him? Or have you spoken recently to this guy? Blah, blah, blah. And then she would turn around and be like, oh yeah, I saw him last week. And she would find out she's been cheated on through that.
How? Okay. I've never known any guy to go to this extent. Why is this so common for a lot of girls?
It's because we're insecure. That's the first thing.
Okay.
The world we live in now, we go on Instagram, we go on TikTok, we see these perfect girls, right?
Sure.
And
As those of them are heavily edited. Let's be real. It's not even real.
you see them in real life and you're like, wait, isn't that you?
Exactly, literally.
Hopefully that's not me.
No, seriously, yeah.
And literally, you see Love Island, you see shows like that,
Yeah.
right? And all of a sudden, you see these guys, they love these girls, right? Like, basically, let's be real, we see Love Island, right? It's the same type of woman, basically,
Sure.
all throughout the show.
Zama.
Like, very slim, like, blonde, usually, or brown hair, but, you know, slim, fake boobs, sometimes BBL, whatever, you know, it's that type that men nowadays love, right? This is like the stereotype.
Carry on. And girls think guys love this, but carry on.
No, exactly. And like as women, we'll just sit there. We're like, oh my God, I wish I looked like that. Oh, it just grows this massive insecurity for us. And then when you see your man on Instagram and then he's literally going through and liking someone's photos, right?
Yeah.
We grow this like insecurity that they want us to look like that, even though it's not like that. Let's be real. Even if you're in a relationship, you're still going to find other people attractive. That's just the thing.
Men, boys and girls.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
You can walk past a man and think he's good looking and be married to someone.
Yes.
But it's not actually cheating until you action something.
I agree.
So if you just sit there and your boyfriend's liking someone's picture, cool, yeah, she's fit, you know, type of thing. Like, just let it be, because otherwise girls just get to this point where they do get psycho, as they get so insecure, and they do really start to think that they're not good enough for their guy, and they just start to like go into this hole of like being like looking through their following, seeing what pictures they like, and all of a sudden they don't trust them. And it builds this whole like thing of them just starting to kind of hate their own boyfriends because they're like, I bet he's looking at that girl. I bet he's out with his mates looking at that girl. And I think this is actually a big thing nowadays that kills relationships.
Yeah, it sabotages it for sure, for sure. So I think I agree. I think if more women can accept, okay, there'll be other people who might find attractive, but that doesn't mean he's necessarily doing anything. But I also think that guys should not be out here liking like these Insta baddies photos, especially if he's in a relationship.
No.
I don't think guys should do it, period, because in my opinion, I think it's just very simp behavior, and I don't think it's conducive for what people are looking for. But also, yeah, I think if he's in a relationship as well, I just don't think he should. The same way, I don't think that there are certain things that a girl might do when she's single that I don't think she should do when she's in a relationship as well. Yeah, but I think it's so interesting how social media has so impacted like people's relationships and feeding on people's insecurities. And I think social media, like anything, is a tool, and it can be, you can use it for good or it will use you for bad. Does that make sense?
Yes.
What's one thing you would ask all guys today if you could? What's one thing you want to bring to conversation?
If you're loving this episode and these kinds of conversations, then I want to give you something. We recently launched the Kits Angels community. This is a sisterhood for women who are tired of what the dating scene has given them and are ready to take their love lives to the next level. It's a space for you as a woman to not be alone in your journey to love, where we learn, talk, and share our experiences as part of a strong sisterhood, with some leadership and guidance from yours truly, of course. Not to mention never before seen videos from me on how I've led dozens of women to meeting great men. And so as a thank you for watching this episode, I'm giving you a month's membership completely complimentary on me. Just click the Kits Angels link below, and when you join the group, message me the code phrase Angels Podcast and I will pay for your membership. Now back to the episode.
You know what? I've just not been in the dating game for such a long
time. Yeah, you said you haven't been on a date for like 4 years. What's going on? What?
Right. So, I've been single for 8 years.
Okay.
So I was a teenager and I was in a relationship.
Yes.
And in between that time and now, I really took that time to kind of learn a lot about myself and kind of know what I want from a guy and like in a long-term relationship. So what I was saying to you earlier when I said that when I meet a guy, I know straight away whether I could see a future with him or not.
Yeah.
Whether it's more of like a casual thing where, you may see them for a day or whatever and never see them again.
Yeah.
And I'm so picky now that honestly,
Oh, really?
when I speak to a guy, I know what I want from him. So like so what you were saying as well earlier as well, like about how when girls just kind of imagine this whole idea of being in a relationship and the guy, they're already ahead of the guy.
Yes.
And they kind of mentally are wanting to be exclusive and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I think I'm a bit slower than that. Like I actually don't want to be in a relationship for a long time. I want to get to know that person on a deeper level. I want to know that we're sharing the same kind of passions in life, the same morals and everything before we actually start to be exclusive.
Yeah.
And I don't really like that idea. And this is, on Love Island, they have this whole thing where men will say, oh, when you girls come into the villa and they'll just like, I'm just allowing myself to kind of, I can't remember what they say, but it's like they want to test themselves.
Oh, with temptation or?
With temptation.
Oh, okay.
I find that really strange because, like, if you actually genuinely like someone, so if I'm dating someone,
yeah,
there will be temptation all the time.
Sure.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to get people in your DMs, you're going to get people when you're out, especially when you're a girl, you get people approach you at the bar.
Very true.
And I don't like that idea. So if I'm going to date someone, I want to know basically from the get-go whether they're looking for something serious or not. I know you said that like sometimes men don't actually know, but I want a man to communicate with me and be honest.
Yeah, I think it's about if he's open to something serious.
Yeah.
And then whether it's about he's going to be open to something serious with you is going to be depend on how you guys get to know each other. Like you said, if your values align, all of that stuff, I would say for sure. Yeah, I don't think I'm the type of person that I just remove myself from temptation, you know? So like if I don't want to, I love Oreo biscuits, I love Oreo cookies. If I don't want to eat it, I'm not going to be like, okay, I'll put it in the cupboard and, I won't touch it. I just won't buy it. Do you know what I mean? But I think Love Island, they do that for the drama, don't they?
Yeah, that's true.
They do that for the drama. Like, oh, I want to like test myself with this really hot girl. I'm going to stay in the same bed with her, but nothing's going to
I'm
happen.
just gonna kiss her and see what happens.
I'm just going to kiss her and see if I get excited. It might not happen, but it might.
But don't you think these shows actually do allow, what we were saying about how girls nowadays are labeled as psychos, right?
Yeah.
But we kind of allowed that and we're kind of cheering it on these shows because it's like, I just watched the last series, right, of the All Stars.
Yeah.
And I saw Elma going really crazy on like Ekin Su for kissing her guy, right?
Yeah.
Which I thought was a bit crazy myself. But yeah, anyway, let's not go into that. And I really do believe that kind of for the drama, girls think that it's actually funny to be a psychopath because they think it's actually like a good thing because we're so used to it seeing on TV. Everyone loves it, everyone loves seeing a girl kick off and throw a drink at her guy. And I just think it's crazy. How are you allowing that? How is that okay?
Yeah, I think there's two things at play, which why it's definitely become more of a thing. I think definitely one is that we're normalizing that behavior, which is actually quite toxic. Like, no matter how you're feeling, you shouldn't be lashing out emotionally because you're an adult, right? Children are guided by their emotions, but adults, we can express them, but we're not controlled by them. So we are normalizing that kind of toxic behavior because the thing is, we would not accept a guy lashing out emotionally. That would be considered abusive. Do you know what I mean? But also, the most valuable currency in the world right now is attention. And so the more crazy a girl is, the more attention she's going to get. Now, whether it's good or bad, regardless, it's still attention. Right? It's like the whole, like Bonnie Blue thing, right? Yeah, she did that because she's that kind of girl, but it was all for crazy media attention. And I think now, I remember seeing this like article about her. She's now making like £1 million a month from OnlyFans because she did something that garnered so much attention. Now, granted, some of it will be positive. I think most of it is probably negative. People being like, what the hell are you doing? Other girls being like, probably other girls slating her as well. Other guys being like, no guy's ever going to marry you. Obviously, a lot of guys being like, oh my gosh, come to our town, which is like crazy because I was talking to one of my friends about this. Look, it's her life. She can do what she wants to do. But she's genuinely like an attractive woman. Like she's actually a beautiful woman.
Yeah, she is.
And I think a lot of guys are like, wow, it's like, a lot of guys look at Bonnie Blue the way girls look at like their really attractive gay guy who's like really emotionally intelligent. You're like, it's just a waste. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, she is.
It's like, it seems like a waste because I think a lot of guys would be like, that's the kind of girl you want outside of all the
because
thousands of dicks she's had.
No, but genuinely, she is, I'd say, what is like seen as like beautiful in our society.
Yeah.
She's blonde, blue eyes, she's very slim, she's got a nice ass, she's got nice boobs, whatever, And I think it's crazy. Like if she wasn't doing all that, she would actually be able, maybe not to that extent, get really popular on socials by doing other stuff.
100%.
It's the same with Lily Phillips. I think I watched her vlog thing on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I thought, you actually are so sweet and like you could just not do that.
Yeah. It's mad because it's like, I think a lot of guys look at these girls and they're like, wow, they've got the personality and temperament of the kind of woman that I would really want to be with. But then the way they indulge sexually is like the biggest turn off that it could just never happen. Some guys like that. Some guys like, it is what it is.
I mean, that's always just going to be the way. I mean, women, when they sleep with a lot of men, they're not seen as desirable anymore because obviously it's just always been that way. If a guy does that, it's cool, he's a legend, whatever, in people's opinions. But when a woman does it, obviously what Bonnie Blue and Lily Phillips are doing, it's crazy. That's literally like, that is a lot for their bodies as well. I think that's mental.
Yeah.
But if that was a guy, that would have been a different story,
Yeah, very, very, very true. Very true. I mean, like for guys, it would have been, I think girls probably would, if it was done publicly, I think a lot of women would still slate him. I think guys wouldn't slate him, but I think a lot of women would still slate him.
Yeah, the queue wouldn't be as long for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Unless I don't know, maybe it's Michael B. Jordan. Maybe they probably do it.
Yeah, maybe.
What do you think? What do you think's the equivalent in terms of, you know, if a girl does something, she's kind of praised for it, but then if a guy does it, he's kind of slated for it?
You know what? I think we live in such a weird society nowadays where everyone's so unequal, because it's like what we just said. If a girl sleeps with a lot of guys, then she's considered a hoe or whatever. If a guy sleeps with a lot of girls, it's like, oh, he's a legend, what a guy.
He's a don.
And I think it's for literally everything. If a girl's a psychopath, it's, oh my God, you're so cool. Oh yeah, let's do it, go on slay girl type of thing. If a guy is a psychopath, then he's in bloody like prison, basically. But what we don't like, what actually is crazy to me is that we're so okay with these things. Like girls being psychopaths, for example, I just find that crazy. Like I know I said that my whole story of 8 years ago.
Yeah.
I could never do that in my new relationship,
Yeah, for sure.
because it would push them away too much.
Well, this is what I was going to say. It seems like there aren't consequences to it, but there is. And the consequence is that those women are not getting the committed relationships that they actually want. Because especially if you're with a genuine good guy, he's done work on himself, a good quality guy, the moment he sees that, he's going to be like, this girl is unstable. She can't handle herself. How can I trust her with my kids? How can I trust her with other things? So it's kind of, they're getting a lot of benefit in the short term, but it's actually jeopardizing what they want long term.
And this is literally exactly what happens to a lot of my friends.
Right.
So they get into a relationship and become these crazy girls that obviously they're going to their boyfriends, oh my God, why did you look at that girl? Why did you like her, bitch, or whatever?
Yeah.
And that causes issues between them. And then over time, they break up because it gets too much for the man.
Yeah.
And
Yes, that'd be solid.
I do really think that, like, if you go into a relationship, if you're not fully healed,
Mhm.
you're going to cause yourself unnecessary drama that you don't need in your life. Like, for me, I feel like the next relationship I get into, I'm going to be a good girlfriend because I'm not insecure. I'm in a position where I know who I am,
Yeah.
and I know what I bring to the table. So if a girl is going into a relationship and she's going from one relationship to another, which is what a lot of girls do, because the idea of being lonely just doesn't hit the same.
Yeah.
They do put all of their kind of trauma into the next relationship, and they end up pushing the guy away
Yeah.
to the point where, like, unfortunately, sometimes the guys do cheat,
Sure. That does happen.
or, you know, they find just someone else and someone that's less dramatic.
Yeah.
Because actually, who wants to be in a relationship with someone that's constantly sitting there and basically emotionally abusing them?
Yeah, it's so true.
And then when they break up, right, the guy is still seen as the bad guy.
Yeah, and this is what I was going to ask you, because I think we're so used to that narrative that if things end, it's because it's his fault.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what sometimes it is. Sometimes it's both. But I think for some reason, and this isn't about putting any blame on women, but I think it doesn't serve us, but especially women, to not be able to reflect and be like, okay, even though he's not perfect, how did I contribute to this actually ending?
Yeah.
Because like you said, that's going to help you so your next relationship actually succeeds. But if we continue painting this narrative, and this is anyone, like if every guy, you know, if there was a guy and he's, you know, things haven't worked out and he's always like, yeah, it's definitely her fault, it's always her fault. Then I'd be like, you've got some growing to do, because you're the other half of each of the relationships you've been in, right? So with your friends, I mean, you kind of said that you've kind of noticed this. Have they taken that reflective approach, been like, okay, maybe this is where I could do better next time?
No. They just take the same whole idea of and they put that into the next relationship. And that's why it just doesn't work out ever. Because it wouldn't. Like, if I got into a relationship with a guy and, like I said, and he was really insecure and kept questioning me, why are you wearing this? Why are you posting that?
Yeah.
I would, even if I loved him,
Yeah.
I would actually have to break up with him at some point. Yes. You cannot constantly be thinking, I can't do this, I can't do that because my other half is uncomfortable about it.
Yeah.
There's obviously limits, obviously, like but even though, like, let's say a girl's doing OnlyFans, right?
Yeah.
And the guy knows this from the start. He saw her Instagram, they met, and then he knows she's really open about it.
Yes.
And then they get into a relationship, and all of a sudden he's like, I feel really uncomfortable with you doing that.
Yeah.
So personally, I think you know what she brought to the table from the start.
True.
So now you feel uncomfortable because you actually love her.
Yep.
But it's like you fell in love with that.
So he fell in love with her, not her doing only.
No, I know, but you know what I mean? She can't stop living her life and doing what because she knows she's been open about it. So she got into a relationship.
Yeah.
So why are you trying to change that person?
I agree. I think there are some things that when we get into a relationship, we make compromises on for the benefit of the relationship, right? And there's some things that we don't. And so I think with the whole thing of OnlyFans, it's really, I think what's interesting about that discussion is about what category does that fall into? Does it fall into, okay, this is something we're going to make a compromise on for the benefit of my relationship, or this is something I'm not going to? Because I agree with you. I would say for guys, I'm like, look, if you know that your girlfriend having an OnlyFans, right? The girl that you with has an OnlyFans, if you know that would be an issue with you, do not date a girl who has OnlyFans seriously. Just don't do it.
Exactly
right?
what I mean.
But guys will also make the argument, okay, well, if you meet a guy and let's say that, okay, when you met him, he had a couple of casual things on the side, and now in a relationship, and you're like, hey, I don't need to do that anymore. He'd be like, whoa, this is what I brought to the table, babe. Like, why do you want me to change? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think there are some things that we do make compromises on for the benefit of the relationship, and some things we don't. And I think that's a discussion that should be had before, as in, would you be willing to give this up for a serious relationship?
Yeah.
But if you see this girl and if she says no, then you have to make your own decision at that time.
Yeah, that's true. But also, I think that was just an example.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
sure.
mean?
Yeah.
But I think it's just for anything. Like, so I don't do OnlyFans, but I obviously post pictures on my social media that, I'm not very
Provocative, half naked,
great.
boobs bum out.
Great. Yeah, no, but you know what I mean? I post pictures, I'm not very modest on my social media, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So if I meet a guy and we're kind of getting into that exclusive territory, he says to me, I don't want you to post pictures like this anymore.
Yep.
I don't want to be with him because he's met me. He knows what I bring to the table. He knows that even though, I do have a bikini picture on my socials, doesn't mean that I'm open to and every single man out there.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it's just my own personal thing. I think a lot of people do want to make a compromise if they really love someone.
Yeah.
But I can't change my whole personality and who I am as a person to just accommodate another person.
So I hear what you're saying. I wouldn't say you're changing your personality though. You're just adjusting what you post. Would you adjust what you post?
No.
Okay. You're standing by if I'm first okay.
You get what you see with me.
Completely fair. Would you post him?
Yeah.
And tag him and everything?
100%.
Okay. I think that's a good compromise then.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you know how we said about earlier, it's about, it can seem like, oh, she's trying to look available to other guys. But then if you're posting him, then clearly you're not available.
Yeah, no, I would be happy to post a guy that I'm with.
Yeah.
I'm ringing the right person. I'll be like, oh my God, I would just want to see him available to everyone else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to change myself for someone. They just got to accept me as I am.
I'd say it's how you express yourself as opposed to changing you. But I get that. And like I said, it's about what comes to compromises we're willing to make and not willing to make. And there's no right or wrong because, for example, some girls would be like, yeah, for the right guy, right? If you see my dream man, then I don't have to post half naked photos.
Yeah, but you know what it is as well? It's like these girls will do that, say that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the guy leaves them.
Yeah.
And they go back to it. And they're like, oh my God, I've not been myself in that relationship. They start saying stuff like that. And I think.
Yeah, but I think that is what we talked about in terms of because things have ended, she's now painting him in a bad light. And so she's using this being like, oh, well, he's been controlling. I'm not being able to, be myself, express myself in terms of just posting half naked photos on the internet where it's like, well, that's a compromise you made for your relationship. You're not in a relationship, so you don't have to compromise anymore. But I don't think it was necessarily a bad thing that you're like, okay, I'm doing this to serve my relationship.
Yeah, to be fair, it's true, but I think you've got to stay true to yourself as well. And I think if you're doing what you're doing, I mean, for me personally, it's kind of what I do as a job.
I think that's different. I think when it's an actual income, so there's an actual professional aspect to it. I think there's more validity in not willing to compromise. I think if you're not earning money from it, I think it should be something you should compromise on.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's different, right? Every relationship is different. So
Yeah.
you just go off what everyone's a different person. And, you know, some girls are happy to compromise. Some girls are not. So, like, I wouldn't be personally, because it's just who I am as a person. That's my brand.
But your brand is your income, though.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, like, because what I mean is, okay, you not doing it is going to affect.
But I still think it's fine. I think if you're just a girl, right, that's posting a bikini pic, I don't mean here like provocative pictures of, like, in the sense that, you know, you see like lingerie and got your legs open.
Oh, okay. That's what you meant like that.
No. I meant more like, I don't post that stuff.
But I've investigated that much, to be fair. Okay.
I mean, just like bikini pictures or those stuff like that. I think a lot of guys, they see a girl on Instagram, they see, oh yeah, she's a baddie.
Yep.
And then they actually get into a relationship with her and they don't want her to be a baddie anymore because it's like they feel insecure.
No, they just want you to be their baddie. Like, you can be a baddie, don't you mind?
You can still be a baddie and still be theirs. That's what I think.
I get you. I think it is the kind of photo. So, like, because girls who have OnlyFans, we see the kind of content that they're posting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're posting the thong, like,
It's intense.
twerking, like, with the camera seeing, like, that much material. And it's like, hey, listen, there are more guys who like, hey, look, I'm down for that. But I think a lot of guys that women describe that they want, they're less likely to take that seriously, depending on the kind of content. But a bikini shot is like, if it's like a fun vacation bikini shot, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think guys would have an issue with that.
No.
I think most guys would.
But what I think as well is, like, for me personally, because I'm like a curve model, so I've got a bit of boob, you know, I've got a bit of bum. And it's like, even if I'm posting a picture in a bikini, that could still look provocative to someone because it's like, my boobs are out, right? In compared to someone that's A cup, right?
Sure.
So it's also that whole body type as well. I'm curvy. My clothes look a bit different on someone that would be a size 8, right?
I see what you're saying.
And it's like, my pictures, if someone looks at my page, you know the amount of times I get DMs, have you got OnlyFans? What's your OnlyFans?
I can imagine, yeah.
Yeah. You can still see my username, but my username is actually from a song. So, but like, it didn't even have an intention of.
What's your username for those of us who don't know?
Spicy Mammy.
Spicy Mammy. Spicy Mammy. That sounds like an OnlyFans model, for sure.
Well, then I just shock everyone. I like that.
It's a really good name, to be fair.
What, is it a Bloody B song?
Is it? That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, she goes Spicy Mammy Hot Tamale, and basically I worked in the college,
Okay.
and I had to like change my username to something that people wouldn't be able to find, so I changed it from my actual name to that. It was just a random decision. It was nothing to do with OnlyFans or any kind of sexual stuff. It was just that.
Especially because they call OnlyFans content, they call it spicy content.
I know. And you know what? For literal like months and months, I've been thinking of changing my username. But because it's kind of my brand now, everyone knows Spicy. You know, people don't even know my name. They just call me Spicy.
Everyone knows Spicy. We know that girl. We love that girl.
Whenever I go and meet someone, I'm like, oh, Spicy here.
Literally. Let me ask you something. What's one unrealistic expectation you think women have on men? And I'll share one that I think men have on men.
Okay. I think, I'm trying to think, that's actually a really good question because I literally cannot think of anything on the top of my head. I think a really unrealistic expectation is from, I know, girls want men to switch their whole life and just be about them. Like, they don't want, like, if a guy's got girlfriends, right? When they get into a relationship with a guy, a lot of girls, because of like these insecurities and stuff, they do want them to stop being friends with women. Like, they kind of don't, what they've been doing in their past. And like, you know, this group of friends with mixture of girls and boys and stuff, girls are like, I don't really feel comfortable with you going out with whoever. And they want like the man to kind of change their whole life to be around what they're doing rather than what, like, how they've been living before. Yeah, like, you make changes obviously when you get into a proper relationship and you've been together, whatever. Sure. But I think a lot of men do kind of lose themselves a little bit because girls just want all the attention on them, who want all of their love on them. And I think if, for example, they had a really good girlfriend that was just never anything kind of like sexual between them or anything, they don't want them to have that friend anymore. And men do kind of become like, then they do it on the side, like, not in a weird way, but then they'll message their friends and be like, messaging in secret and stuff. And I think girls have that expectation that when they get into a relationship with a guy, they do kind of want that guy to just be all about them.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't do that
That's what I was going to ask. Would she then kind of let go of any men in her life?
No, because girls are then like, oh, he's just a friend. He's just a friend. And it's like, but if that was the other way around, you'd hate it.
You'd hate it. Yeah, so true. Do girls generally believe that most of their male friends are just friends?
100% no.
See, this is why I like you, Spicy. That's why I like it, because you're being real, you're being honest, because I'm asking all the questions that I know guys are like, we subconsciously know this, but no one will ever admit this. Now, obviously, I'll admit all the things that, guys do. But so girls know.
Yeah. I have guy friends that I know would want to be with me.
Damn.
So it's like next relationship I'm going to, if I start dating someone,
yeah,
I'll be friends with a man that I know, for example, that would want me in that way.
So would you, if your guy was like, hey, I'm not comfortable you being friends with these guys and hanging out with them and talking to them?
Yeah, I would consider it. But also at the same time, it's like, because if you had some sort of sexual relationship or some kind of relationship with your friend before, it's different. But I think if they've just been always just normal friend that you just been speaking to at the gym or something, I think there's no need to go to that extent, because if I said that to a guy and said to him, okay, you stop being friends with your friend that you've been friends with for 25 years,
of course,
he would hate it.
I completely agree. What's the difference between like a male friend and a guy that you've talked to, but it's just unexplored potential?
I think a lot of us girls, we like to be friends with men that we know are interested in us.
Yeah, of course. Duh.
Because it's like when you go out with them, they're like, oh, here's a free drink. Oh, don't worry, I'll get this for you. Or whatever.
Yeah, he plays the part of the boyfriend without you.
You have no interest whatsoever in them, and you know that, like, for you, this is never going to be anything.
Yeah.
And I think that is the difference. And I think if you are just friends with a guy that you know is just a friend, then also it's different, because you don't have that expectation for them to pay for you or whatever. Like, it's a weird, I can't even describe it. I don't have that many male friends. Most of them are gay. So I don't have those situations. But like, I've got a friend and I know that he's had feelings for me before.
Yeah.
And when he sees me, because we don't see each other often, he'll like pay for me and stuff. So it's...
What are you doing, bro? Stop it.
I know, it's not in a weird way. I pay for him.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay. That's all right.
So it's not weird. But yeah. But we've just agreed. I've literally had to tell him that it's just a friendship and it's nothing deeper for me, and he's accepted it.
Okay, that's good, because you've communicated that.
Yeah. I'm very honest when it comes to people, and like, if I'm not gonna string you along.
Yeah.
Like, if I speak to a guy, or even if I've been on a date with him, or had like a sexual relationship with someone, and I'm not feeling it in that way, I will say it.
Yeah.
I'll say I'm just not interested in having an actual relationship with you. And however they take it, they might turn around and be like, well, you are ugly anyway. But
well, that's just insecurity on their part. Yeah, I think, I don't think guys should be friends. You're going to hate me saying this. I think guys should be friends with women that they want, that they're attracted to.
I kind of agree.
Like, I just don't think it's, one, as a woman, you have to keep, not all the time, but for a lot of women, they have to keep batting the guy off. You'll see little innuendos or flirts. You're like, this is a friendship. This is a friendship. But also, I think for the guy as well, I just don't think, I don't think it's actually good for him. And the reason I say that is because a lot of guys can become resentful if they do a lot for her because he's obviously into her. And obviously she's not necessarily reciprocating it because she's not as interested in him, but she likes him as a friend. And a lot of guys actually can become resentful. And then they bring that energy to her, and then that's not good for her, right? I just don't think they should put themselves in that position,
no,
to be honest.
I think it would be the other way around as well. If you're a girl and you actually like your male friend, you would be like, oh, if he actually made a move, I would go for it.
Yeah.
And if he then doesn't pursue it and you just kind of are stuck in that friend zone, you feel a certain way towards someone. I do believe it, even though, like, I do have a friend that I know would want to have a relationship with me. Well, he did in the past, but not now. But you just know that over either, because it's like,
I think still would.
He's saying that. He's saying that because obviously,
yeah, you've kind of laid it out. Yeah,
but it's like, there's always going to be that weird energy.
Mm-hmm.
Always. Like, but I think also those friendships, because like with my friend, I don't see him often.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not like I see him every week or something, or we work together, so it's not weird.
Right? Yes. Yeah.
So I think if you're like friends with that person, you see them quite often.
Yeah.
And sometimes this leads to then like some like you get drunk and you sleep together, and it causes so many problems then, because that person that still sees you as that potential relationship would then feel really heartbroken, because they'll be like, oh my God, I got a bit of you. And then you suddenly just turn really cold towards them. And it's like, oh my God, I feel rejected again.
Yeah, of course. Does that happen in terms of like where a girl will by accident sleep with her male friend?
I think girls take advantage of men sometimes, because if a girl knows that a guy is attracted to her and he would like want to pursue things with her, if she's obviously just, you know, feeling a bit horny that day and she gets a bit drunk, she can then blame it on the alcohol and say, oh my God, you know, like, I know what happened last night. Obviously, I was just really drunk and, you know, it shouldn't have happened, stuff like that.
Wow. So she just used it for sex?
Yeah. The thing is though, right? Girls,
For a lot of guys, that's a dream. Like, they're like, sure, babe, use me sex as much as you want.
we're talking about a guy here that's like, she's like, who actually would want you. So it's like, it's different, because you're going to break his heart. Because if a guy did that to a girl, what would he be then called? Trash.
Oh, narcissist. Oh,
Narcissist, yeah.
Yeah, so true.
You know what? It's funny, because I think like what we were talking about earlier, men are trash, but so are women. We do so many things that are so bad sometimes.
Yeah.
And we don't take any accountability for it. We think, oh, I'm a woman, I'll get away with it.
Yeah. And thing is, the irony is that actually doesn't help the women.
No.
In the most part, because it means that a lot of the time they'll continue certain patterns and they'll just continue to find themselves in the same situation. I think we do a better job at holding men accountable. Like, we call out men a lot.
All the time.
But why do you think it seems harder for us to, you know, just call out the bad behavior some women do? Why do you think it's harder to do that?
Because as women, when we kind of, especially I think a lot of things are brought onto social media nowadays. So, you know, you see people having drama between like celebrities, and so the man is always the bad one.
Yeah, it's always the villain.
Yeah, he's always the villain. No one ever stands out for the man, because at the end of the day, you see a couple and you don't know what actually has gone on in their relationship.
Very true.
So it's like, I'm not going to have like keep anyone's side. I'm not going to stick there and be like, oh no, she is definitely right and he is wrong, because I don't know their actual relationships. And even in like your friends, you don't actually know their relationships.
Very true.
Like your friends will then, like when they split up or whatever, they will come out with all these things and say, oh, this happened and that happened. You had no idea throughout the whole relationship that all of that was happening.
Very true.
And I think a lot of like on social media, especially, girls stick together and they will go on to a guy and say, oh my God, you are trash, you're this, you're that, you're a narcissist.
Yeah.
And I think, oh my God, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
We've gone into this like whole thing of hating men.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually really sad, because sometimes men are the ones that actually needs to be stuck up for.
Yeah, sometimes they don't want to need support. What do you say to girls who, like, you know, I can cover what you say, because personally I hold men and women accountable. You know, if a guy does something wrong, I'm like, you need to do better. If a girl does something that doesn't serve her, I'm like, you need to do better too. And this is how you can do that. What do you say to the girls who, you know, would hear what you just said and be like, she's not a girl's girl? What would you say that?
I'm literally the definition of a girl's girl, but I can look at someone and be like, you need to be accountable for your actions. I'm happy to sit there and say to a friend, look, your boyfriend actually isn't trash. It's your behavior that pushed him away. But it's like, I'm a girl's girl when it's right.
Yeah.
Like, if I see that, you know, a man has been abusive towards a girl, I'm going to obviously stick up for the girl.
Yeah, of course.
But sometimes it's the other way around, and sometimes it's not physical. Sometimes it's emotional. And what I was saying earlier about how, you know, we're into this whole psychopath area where, like, we're all like, women are just literally like, oh my God, you blacked another girl's photo. Oh my God, you done this, you done that, constantly. It is emotional abuse. Over time, a guy is going to be drained.
Yeah, just being constantly questioned, constantly like interrogated. Yeah, no, it's very true. And the thing is as well, I think because generally speaking, women tend to be a lot more competent in the emotional, mental domain of a relationship. So I think guys tend to be more physically dominant, but women are more emotionally dominant. And so a lot of the time, I think guys don't realize that, because the thing is as well, because as a guy, like if we're in a relationship, a lot of guys really want to do things for women and to make the woman happy. So when she's coming with all of this stuff, he's like, okay, well, what do I need to do to make you happy and stuff? And sometimes he may not realize that, okay, maybe this is actually unreasonable. This isn't actually a me thing, that's a her thing. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes it's projection, but because there's the emotional, you don't see the emotional wounds, right? You don't see the emotional impact and drain it can have. And I think you're right. That's when guys can just start to check out, because like this relationship is too taxing for me, and I have seen that. I'm gonna answer one expectation I think guys have of women that's unrealistic. I think I think the biggest one is that she's gorgeous, attractive, but that she shouldn't get attention from other guys.
Yeah.
It's like that. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
You know what? It's actually so true when you like actually think about it, right?
Yeah.
You see a lot of girls get into long-term relationships and all of a sudden they just kind of lose their glow. Like they start to wear oversized clothes. They start to they stop going out as much.
Yeah.
They start to then gain weight all of a sudden because the guy is like, oh, okay, so I got you some chocolate, I got you a pizza, I got you this. Because they want actually the girl to be less attractive. To other men.
Or it's like they want to sacrifice her attractiveness for the attention of other men. I think that's an unrealistic expectation. And I think sometimes a guys can be like, oh, I don't like you wearing this stuff, whatever, because he either feels it is disrespectful to a relationship or he is trying to protect her from unwanted attention. But sometimes it comes from a controlling place, as in, I don't want anyone to see you ever like the attractive woman that I know that you are.
I think that's crazy.
Yeah. And I think obviously it's insecurity. But also you should be like, when you go out with your girl and if other guys want her, you should be like, yeah, you should want her. She's great. Look at her.
I think it's a really good thing.
Yeah. It's like, it's a compliment.
It's a compliment. I think even if you get into a relationship and you're in that long-term relationship and it's been even a few years, and as a woman, you kind of feel like you want to be validated still. Like, it's nice to hear compliment.
Yeah.
I know we're in like 2025 and, girls don't need men and all this.
Yes.
But it's nice when you go out and a man comes up to you and he's like, oh, I think you're really attractive. And it's nothing wrong with it unless you action it. So I think when men want to take that away from women, when they want them to be less attractive for other men, I think, what the hell?
So I would agree. I would say it's okay for her to receive that complimentary attention, but it's not okay for her to invite it.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
That's what
if a girl has a boyfriend and she goes to a bar and constantly is making an eye contact with some guy, but they're just, and is
exactly,
and is chatting to him, gives her Instagram out for a free drink or whatever.
Yeah.
I think, it is a bit disrespectful.
Yeah.
But obviously, I think this also depends on the relationship. Some people are just quite open.
Very true.
And
very open.
If you're kind of also if you're in a relationship and you're quite unhappy in that relationship, I know that sounds so wrong on so many levels because you should just end it. But sometimes it's not as easy as that. Sometimes relationships are a bit more complex.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes girls feel a bit, unwanted by their partner and they do kind of like that attention, even though they would never action it or do anything with it. But they do like getting men that speak to them or, they will chat to a guy at a bar because they feel like it's nice to actually get attention and actually feel like they're good looking.
Feel wanted. I get that, but I don't think that's helpful. I don't think if she feels like she's not getting a certain attention from home, she then compensates that by going out, because that means she's not communicating maybe a need of hers in the relationship. She's just seeking it elsewhere. And I think that's wrong, because I don't think it would be fair if a guy was like, okay, we're not having sex as much. Now we only have sex like once a month. So because I'm not getting this email, I'm going to have sex somewhere else. And she's none the wiser.
Yeah, but it's the thing. We lack a lot of communication in our relationships nowadays.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah. We lack communication, whether it's from the beginning about whether the guy is or girl is wanting something casual or long term. Then when we get into a relationship, when things are not, as good as they were at the beginning, we don't discuss things. We don't tell each other our boundaries, nothing. It's kind of all left. And then obviously this is not every relationship. I'm saying unhealthy relationships.
Yeah, of course.
But then obviously things happen like, oh, they start getting attention from other men, and then the guy is like getting pissed off about it, or it's the other way around, and it all then kind of goes downhill from there.
Yeah.
But I do really believe that we lack communication. That's why dating is so hard right now, because we lack communication.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think that we have more communication today than we did before, but yet dating and getting into relationships actually seem harder. And I think the main reason why it's hard is it's harder today for the struggle for men and women is different. The main reason for guys is because he's competing with everyone now, right? So a girl, if he's not just competing with the guys in his class, he's now competing with, the hotshot lawyer from London, the rapper from LA, the producer from France. Do you know what I mean? He's competing with all those guys, especially with Instagram and social media and technology. I think for women, it's one, of course, getting commitment. But I'm going to be honest, I think women don't actually know what men want.
That is true.
I don't think women know. They know what they want visually. They're like, I know guys like, curves and a bum and boobs and big lips and stuff. And that's all, shifted over time in terms of the beauty standard. That's the beauty standard today, I guess, conventionally in the West. But I think in terms of what actually makes a man want to invest in a woman, to commit to her, to look after her, I don't think a lot of women actually know what men want. I think a big reason, I think it's for two things. I think one, part of it is because anytime a man might express what he wants, if that's not what she wants to hear, it's labeled as misogynistic or patriarchal or blah, 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 all of this stuff. But also too, I think part of it is if they've had a lot of bad experiences with men and they think men are trash, they're like, well, I don't care what men want. Why should I care what a man wants? Do you know what I mean? They're like, why should I care? But then ultimately it's like, well, if you want to have a relationship with a man, you're going to have to know what he wants. Because it's important that he shows up in a way that you want as well.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. This is the lack of communication that we have nowadays.
Sure, that's true.
Girls don't actually sit there and want to speak to their partner and go, actually, I want to actually know what you want from me.
What you need from me.
And what you need from me.
Yeah.
Like, we just sit there, we kind of assume, and then when things go wrong, we blame the man that he's in the wrong all the time. It's always the man. It's never the woman. It's always the man.
Yeah. So let me wrap up with this then. For you, what's one thing that you're going to bring into your next relationship to help it succeed?
I think just being honest from the start and communicating what we both want and kind of just any like issues from the beginning. Like if I'm going to date someone, I want them to know that I'm not going to change myself as a person to kind of accommodate them. So like if they don't want to pursue it, then that's fine. But I really want a man that is like, I feel secure enough to believe that you're not going to go and, get with someone else, basically.
Sure.
I want him to be secure enough to understand that what I do for my job is my job, and I still go back to him at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm bringing into my next relationship, I'm definitely bringing a lot more communication. I think the people that I have, obviously in the last 8 years, I have dated people, I've had like some sort of situationships. Like what we spoke about how there's so much lack of communication nowadays. That's where I found it really hard.
Yeah.
And it has like kind of killed my confidence in so many ways.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I've obviously just allowed myself to kind of get more like involved in the relationship, and he wasn't quite there.
Yeah.
So I want to have a lot more communication from the start.
Yeah.
And I'm just bringing myself, and just want him to kind of accept me as I am.
Yeah.
And go from there. I guess like when you start to build a relationship, you start to build things together, and whatever it is, everyone's got positive and negative things about them. I'm not perfect. I've got things that I need to work on, but I'm sure he will as well. So you kind of go through it together and try to get that together.
Yeah, for sure. I think one thing that maybe some unsolicited advice from me, like, because I know situationships can be so common. It's like, okay, I think he's taking me seriously, but I don't know if he is, and we think that he is. I think really look at how much time he invests spending time with you where sex is off the table. That is like the biggest telltale sign whether a guy is taking you seriously. So if you can't meet with him for lunch, like in town, and then go your separate ways after, right? And every time you try and meet with him in a space or environment where sex is going to be off the table, that is a big red flag. that he's not taking it seriously. Because I think a lot of the time when we start dating someone, the first few dates, maybe nothing happens or, but the moment you start sleeping together, all the dates suddenly become like Netflix and chill dates. Or it's like, okay, let's go do this and you come back to mine. Or maybe you just come to mine and watch a movie. And there's nothing wrong with those dates, but if that's the only kind of dates and environments you're spending with this guy where you're going to do something and you're probably going to be intimate later, you actually don't know if he's taking you seriously. You actually don't know if he's investing in you. It's actually, the irony is a lot of women think that me going for dinner with a guy and then going home and sleeping with him, they think that's higher investment than you just going for a walk in the forest for 2 hours just talking. They think the dinner date that leads to sex is a higher investment than the guy who's actually gonna not drink any alcohol with you, not try and get you drunk, but actually just spend 2 hours with you where all you're doing is just talking and just connecting on a mental level, right? And that's actually where the investment is. So if you want to know if a guy's taking you seriously, he will do that with you. If he's not, then he won't.
No,
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Spicy Mammy, we're going to wrap it up there.
Huh?
We're going to wrap it up there, Paula. This has been a great conversation. Really appreciate, you just being real, being honest. We appreciate you for that. If people want to find you or follow you, where can they find you?
Just on my Instagram.
Yeah.
Spicy Mummy, but obviously it's sp1cy.mummy. Because it's never easy when I was trying to change my username. They just didn't have the I instead of the one. So
Okay, spicy.mammy. We love that. We love that. Well, thanks for sharing your energy with us today. We appreciate you. Guys, go give her a follow, give her a like, all that good stuff. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you in the next episode.